Out now.
7 o'clock.
It's 7.
It is.
Call meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mike Hayes,
Here.
Jen Watkins, Chris Hunt,
Here.
Kit Williams,
Here.
Drew Schultz,
Here.
Angel Ramsey. Here.
Everybody had a chance to look through the agenda and the consent agenda? Yeah. We get a motion to adopt the agenda as written. Nobody can hear me, I'm assuming. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as presented or otherwise ask for items to be read?
I make a motion to accept the agenda as is.
Second. Angel, all in favor? So everyone had a chance to review the consent agenda. Questions, items you would like removed for further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
By Chris, all in favor? Public comment time, again, remember it's brief comments, don't expect interaction from the council. But if you have comments you'd like to make it general or about items that appear on tonight's agenda, feel free to do it. Try to limit it to 3 to 5 minutes.
Are you talking to them or are you talking to here? Cause I can barely hear you.
Okay, I got my hearing aids turned screwed. Okay, let's back up. Public comment time. That better? Everybody hear me?
Yeah, that's much better.
Now we can.
Please keep your comments 3 to 5 minutes. Focus them on the agenda that's before you tonight. If you have a comment about the agenda, that's fine. Do not expect interaction from the council at this point. Further notice, if you desire to present an item to the council that's not on the agenda, please contact Sarah ahead of time and ask to be a guest speaker.
Mayor, I might add that tonight we have a separate hearing within this meeting for the CDBG grant proposal. And so comments related to that proposal would be more appropriate within the grant hearing.
I think that's reflected in the agenda as published. Any public comments outside of,
Yeah, I missed.
okay?
Nobody wants to talk to you. Can't say that blame.
Guest speaker, are you our guest speaker tonight, ma'am?
I am not a guest speaker, but I do have a presentation. And so council, I'm gonna step out here. Are you the city administrator? I'm Sarah, and wanted to just have an open conversation with council about some issues of concern that have come up recently with the city, specifically around customer service and our staff's commitment to customer service here in the city of Towanda. And so just I've written some thoughts out, but this is from the heart. So in recent weeks, we've had a situation come up that has really highlighted some things that I would consider ongoing struggles. They're not unique to this situation, but it brought them up. And in regard to our providing satisfactory customer service. And so I want to start my presentation tonight first by sharing my apologies. On behalf of City Hall, myself, and our staff, I want to apologize to customers who have felt like we did not serve them professionally. And I also want to apologize to council for letting me down. So it would be inappropriate this evening to discuss specific situations or anything related to specific staff in public meetings. So my hope is to keep this conversation at a higher level, but really to emphasize my commitment to customer service at City Hall. And so what I share, I don't want the council to hear as making excuses, but I do like to name things. I like to analyze things, and that helps us to navigate and identify what we need to change, and some of the obstacles to that change that we hope to do. And so what I will say is I've been here just over 5 months now as your city administrator, and systemically, the city of Towanda is not set up very well to provide the level of customer service that I wish we provided. What I've discovered is that so far our roles and responsibilities are not well aligned. We don't really have good tracking systems to see follow through and to make sure that things get done. It's really easy, even within a small staff, to get our wires crossed and to have things move outside of appropriate process. And anecdotally, there's a history that administration given when customers push. And so that is, I think, a customer expectation that if we push, staff may give in. And so another observation I've made is that we've been single point of failure on many key things here at City Hall. So whether it's taking payments, if Cammy's out, Lisa and I try to fumble on through. With permitting, if Lisa's out, we are unable to help other businesses move. Things like social media, customer facing efforts, we really are one-off and limited if somebody's going. We also have some confusion about things like routing records requests, responses to comments received through the website or secondary systems. And so also as we have a new administrator, it means that I'm learning along with staff as they're learning me. And so sometimes it takes a little bit longer to provide an answer. Again, all of this is the situation we live in. So as a staff, we're very lean. We have 7.5 full-time equivalents. That includes me, Lisa and Cammy round out the office staff, and we have 4.5 in public works. So that means we find that we have gaps where staff, where services might be split between city staff. We also have areas like nuisance enforcement and code enforcement that live somewhere in the zone between staff and contracted entities. And we have had some customer service challenges with those things that don't live cleanly with either a contractor or internally. It creates spin cycles where it's not clear who handles what or how best to respond. And this disillusions our communicators. It damages trust in all government systems when you're not sure who to call because nobody's responding and they're all saying somebody else should. So a lot of those are technical issues, they are solvable, but within my desk, they get added to an ongoing lengthening list of things like polls that I need to make, contracts to revise, answers to clarify, and that competes with projects and priorities that the public sees. Also, I would say to Wanda, many communities, if they don't like what one staff member told them, they want to speak to the administrator or the manager. And this creates two challenges. One is that often if somebody wants to escalate a situation, I don't have any new information in that moment. And so the information staff has responded to is often what we have. So if there is a situation that needs review, it takes its time. It takes additional research, information gathering to make sure that we're seeing everything that should be considered and that we're being fair. The second part is that reviews have to be balanced within staff workflow along with other priorities. And so one of our challenges this week is that there were a series of events in the past couple of weeks that ultimately meant the Herald published 4 days late and you guys received your council packets yesterday. To me, that's not acceptable, but it's what happens when things kind of logjam into spaces and demand that attention kind of outside of established processes. And so again, just naming, but this will require some time, training, and patience both internally and externally as we work to untangle it. So we're not leaving it right there, though. I want to clarify to council what we are trying to do to address these. One of the first efforts is realigning roles at City Hall. There's been a lot of role drift between the three of us, and so there are things where it's unclear what gives to who. So I'm setting the expectation that as the deputy clerk, utility billing clerk, Cammy should be able to address the most walk-in customer service needs and resolve frontline issues. So if customers have questions, Cammy may need to do a little bit of research and contact them back, but that's the appropriate first response for questions that deal with codes or policies or things like that. If somebody doesn't like what the code says, they would then move to Lisa as our code enforcement officer. She can help walk through what it says, she can help to explain it, and to explain the consequences if it's not abided by. And then within customer service resolution, I'm ultimately the arbitrator. I'm the one that if somebody doesn't feel like they've received justice in the earlier phases, they can come to me and I will ask staff to provide an analysis of the situation, the appropriate codes, policies, etc., any situational information received. And then I'll work to determine if there is a resolution that can be reached within city code or policies. I feel like as your administrator, I have limited ability to override policies. Anything that would involve a true override should come to council. And so I work to make interpretations and resolutions within policy or with reasonable justification as to why a unique situation. We're also working on City Hall staff communication, just trying to make sure that people know what's going on even among the community areas. There have been some shortcomings there. And when, for example, if I don't know something, I can't read council. And so working on making sure that that communication flows. We are working on some proactive efforts around common occurrences. One of the big ones that I see on social media is concerns about water rates and water bills. And so we have developed a process, if I can find it, on the first page of this month's Herald for water bill questions. This is directly in response to common concerns that we're seeing. It allows anyone who has a concern about their water bill, if they've had a bump in usage or whatever their concern is, they can contact us by the 10th of the month. And that gives us about a 7-day window to try to review by the 17th. That allows us to hopefully get analysis and answers back to that person before late fees apply on the 20th. And so as part of that process, we will pull water usage data from the electronic meter. We'll manually check the meter read to make sure that there's no mechanical issue with the meter. And we will also confirm bill calculations within the billing system to make sure everything transferred correctly. So our hope in doing that is first to have an established process to do that. But also if that detailed data can point to if somebody has a slow drip overnight, that could be 2 or 3 gallons an hour. And we do see those signatures on meter data. And so that can help a household to identify what's going on. So we do still expect bills to be paid before the 20th to avoid late fees. We're going to do all in our power to get that data returned. If somebody has a question and doesn't hit the 10th, they might have to go in kind of the next batch that we can put together. And so we might not have that data before the 20th, but we're trying to be proactive in that way. Another issue that's crossed my plate is loose dog enforcement. And similarly in the Herald, you can see that we're starting with some public education about city codes and ordinances related to dogs. I have looked at what it could take to do some targeted enforcement. And the question honestly is how much am I willing to call back my public works staff to really do that enforcement? I've asked them to consider whether they would be willing to for time, but I don't want to wreck their home lives long term through picking up loose dogs after hours. And so I'm looking on these issues where to a customer it looks like frustration, why isn't the city responding? On the back end, it looks like what are the resources we have and what does it cost, not just financially, but what's the human cost of that deployment? Another one we've looked at is court payments. I realize we have people walk in to pay court fees, and because of the way that our billing system is segmented, our court clerk is not our billing clerk. And so she does not have access to those records. And so I've asked her to coordinate with the court clerk to get a rundown of fees following each court so that they can pay their fees when they come to do so. Finally, when we receive requests outside of existing codes and ordinances, we try to proactively develop guidelines. And so like last month, we passed ordinances for weekday, half-day rentals at the community building, special events, and we're looking at a local food vendor tonight. And so those are ways that we're trying to be responsive, not situation by situation, but more comprehensive level of. So another, speaking openly, honestly, some challenges that I see are changing things that have been accepted long term. And so working on new scripts, working on new ways to deal with customer service. In recent weeks, I've learned that we have had people who hang up on customers We've had people who leave customers on open lines. Neither one really represents what we want to as a city. And so I'm looking at what's the balance to ensure that staff members here are not forced to sit there and endure harassment or abuse, because that seems to be the other option sometimes. But looking at how can we de-escalate, how can we get the customer to a resolution without kind of ending up in those no-win situations. I'm also working with staff on how to inform customers about the anticipated timelines for resolution. And so that clarifies to customers how and when and from who they can expect to receive a response if they've got a concern. And so finally, I wanted to share that we have started staff meetings every Monday, just kind of a team huddle to start the week. And we talked about this as a staff this Monday. We developed some standards for customer response. I don't want to make this a policy or an ordinance as much as just our procedure. But we would like, as staff, to be held accountable that inquiries and communications should be addressed as quickly as possible, but by no means more than 3 business days. And that is the same as a Freedom of Information Act request or a Kansas Open Records request. So what that means is that any personally addressed emails, not worried about marketing things, but anything that's personally addressed should be addressed within 3 business days. Calls and voicemails answered or returned. Contacts received through web and social media platforms, and then any other types of outreach, a 3-day response threshold. That first response could resolve the issue. Hopefully it usually does, but it also might confirm that the request has been received and that we're looking into it. Within addressing, we're looking at 2 categories. One is resolution, and ideally we would resolve anything that we can within 3 days. So that would be our typical goal. But if we do find that a situation is more complex and requires research, we would then give the customer clarity on when they can expect to hear from us within 3 to 5 more days. Always we would aim to project long and then exceed expectations to resolve as quickly as possible. But I'd rather give us time to meaningfully address the situation than a short timeline that we can't meet. And so if that requires research, we would touch base with the customer by or before the day given at every time. Sometimes, like in the open records world, you can end up with a complex case that requires a lot of redacting and things like that. The appropriate thing is to make sure that they know where it's progressing and when they can receive it. And so that is our staff's recommendation for standards for customer response. And so with that, I'm glad to stand for any council questions, feedback, conversation.
I'll say I think you've done a great job in what you came in and done. I know you have a whole lot more to do, and you've got a whole lot to do in the beginning. So I don't think that's unnoticed. I appreciate you.
Yes, we realize you got a bag of worms when you walked in, but you're handling it quite well.
Sam, I am very
Thank you.
impressed with how you have come in and handled yourself and spoke and done all of the things to try to get all of these things corrected. I am very appreciative of you. You've been very professional, Sarah.
But we also realize it ain't gonna happen overnight.
No,
Right.
it's not a perfect system.
We do ask for patience
Yeah.
as we work through, and it is a we, it's not just a me, it's, whole organization pivoting to a higher level.
But you presented some good guidance and leadership, and that's very important. So.
Council, as you hear anything else, again, I wanted to have this conversation publicly so that those in the audience, those listening from through the online streaming, can also hear where we're at. So if council hears other things that we can improve on, please continue to bring those to me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
You need time to queue up anything from the old business.
Let me see where we're at. I probably do need to advance the PowerPoint. Okay,
Ready?
so staff, I'll introduce, or council, I will introduce this here. Lisa and I are going to tag team the presentations because we have a lot of territory to cover here. And give me just a moment to get to the right place in my book. And so, so this evening's conversation provides updates on 309 Main, which is owned by Perry Jones, who is present this evening. The city first issued a hearing date for repair or demolition of 309 Main in late 2024. Work did progress following that, and the structure was then struck by machinery on February 1st, 2025, during the repair process, causing additional damage and resulting in the braces that have been on city sidewalks since that time. So at this point, fast forward, and Lisa will give a bit of a review of the timeline, but fast forward to where we are today, we have 2 processes underway. Each one is challenging, each one requires a lot of navigation, and both require city commitment. And so the first option, and tonight we'll have a hearing, or I'm sorry, the first option is to apply for a commercial rehabilitation project that would be grant funded through the Kansas Department of Commerce using Community Development Block Grant funds. And we'll have a hearing for that part of the process tonight. The second part is continuing forward on a demolition or repair order. I believe that order, I don't have the date in front of me, but was signed in late April. And so council would expect to have the next steps on that at their July meeting. And so these are concurrent processes. One or the other will ultimately be the result, but we're running both in tandem at the moment. And so tonight we're going to cover a lot of territory. It includes reviewing the timeline and updates, updates on bids for demolition that Lisa's been soliciting, and then next steps as far as the dilapidation resolution, and then a review of the CDBG grant process. And so I did want to make a note up front that the city attorney has reviewed all the analysis and the proposed signature items, because there's quite a bit when we get to that point. And so I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to share the next few steps, and then I will share with council about the CDBG grant process.
Yeah.
The first thing you have before you is the timeline. Again, the project starting in 2024, bringing it all the way up to today. And where we are today. Do you have any questions about this timeline? I'll try to clarify any parts of it.
I have a couple, if you don't mind.
For me?
I have a couple of questions,
Yes,
if you don't mind.
absolutely.
What did Mr. Ingalls specifically inspect?
He inspected the footings for the pier, the footing.
So that tells me then that those footings have been poured and are acceptable for continued installation of whatever type of building. Okay, thank you.
What do you say? Can't hear you.
Still can't hear me?
Now I can.
My question to Lisa, what she answered was, what kind of inspection Tim Ingalls did on the building? Her answer to me was the footing material was inspected.
The footings for those columns that are going inside the front of the.
So,
So those haven't even been started yet either?
So they've been poured, the footings, but not the.
Footings been poured.
okay. So that happened a month ago.
No, that happened
May the 11th.
5/18.
Do what?
This happens right here, the old schedule.
May the 11th.
Inspected.
Is when he notified, you called him and the inspection was
But he wasn't ready May the 11th.
the 18th. Okay,
It wasn't until the 18th that we finally
So-
were ready.
they've been ready essentially a month to set something on. 3 weeks, whatever. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
I don't even know where we're at, so.
Hold on a second. We get caught up there.
This is.
Yeah, we'll find it.
So the second
Should have
page
some
has
tabs in there.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Tabs are all back here.
No, all my tabs are back there.
We're close there.
Council, while you search, we could give just a few of the highlights on the timeline from the past month or so. I promise it is in there. It's just a thick packet.
I just, I don't understand what we need a timeline for. Like, we have already voted on what we want to do, correct? Did we
So-
not do that last?
The council passed the demolition resolution on April 22nd.
Yep.
At that point, staff were still under the direction to proceed with looking into the grant process. And so that has continued to tonight. And so tonight is the hearing for the grant process. And honestly, it's an opportunity for council to determine if they're comfortable moving forward at this point or not.
I mean,
I think when he sees this, there'll be a little more understanding. I just gotta find it.
I don't think I've got it.
I'm starting to think you don't either.
It should be like the third page in that tab.
Yeah, we don't have tabs.
We do, but ours are all the way at the back. None of my tabs are actually used for anything.
I found,
May I
Should be-
borrow your notebooks for a moment? I'll
Yeah.
see if I can.
I have mine.
Should be the
Like,
third
is this
page.
is it in the
Third
original
page
one or
of
the
It
new
should
one?
be in the new one.
Well, that's the old one.
Okay,
That's the one
that's
that was in there. That's the new one we just got
Okay.
yesterday.
You flipped your pages there, Jerry.
It is not.
Well,
I am
most of
so
them are
sorry.
I guess I'm not a real council member.
No, you are.
Mine's probably way back though, I'm telling you.
That's,
It should have been at the beginning of that section.
Oh,
I'm
mine,
sorry.
yeah, mine's probably way back too.
but that's firework. That's stuff that's on the agenda later.
Because you guys received the first paperwork and then in the notebooks, and then I had guys deliver the second part of the package.
This is the second part of the package that we're looking in, and I don't
Oh.
have.
I can
some
go
stuff
print
on-
the documents.
I mean, if I can
You
look
can
at
share.
his,
You can
yeah,
share.
I'm a good boy. I can share.
You're big. There you go.
Yeah.
Can you read that?
No.
Alright, perfect. We're in business. Alright, here we
I know
go. Lisa.
Braille. I know Braille.
Give me tap on your knee or something.
Yeah.
We're ready, Lisa.
Okay, go ahead, Lisa. I'm sorry. You can.
There's the timeline. If you have any questions or anything I can clarify in it, it's pretty self-explanatory. 6/3 of 2026, we're still at it.
Okay.
What documents, what documents did Roberto supply to SCAD? 519, it says Roberto.
Perry Jones's, financial, he had to take over. He actually had me resend it because I had a copy of
It
it.
had nothing to do with the
That's
pillars.
nothing To
Okay,
do with any of that. It had
Okay.
to do with the documents required for them to
Okay.
apply for the grant.
okay, but it
There
had
you
nothing
go.
to do with the pillars that were
Nope,
promised
nope,
to support the wall.
nope.
Okay, go ahead.
My turn. I'm gonna ask a question, sorry.
Sure.
Then I'll find it again. 10/25 to 12/2. Owner waiting for new roof trusses. Nowhere does it say that they actually showed up.
I haven't seen trusses.
Hi, buddy.
Hello.
You got roof trusses?
Do we have the trusses?
That's Roberto's deal.
So
I think he's,
Okay.
he's got them all lined out,
Okay.
so.
From a year ago, he had them all lined out?
No, he has, I know use Norm, just takes 2 weeks to get them.
this says 10/25. It's
Right.
October 2025.
And I-
Well,
So we're 8 months out.
no, okay. here's the
can't tell me no.
confusion. Here, let me, yeah. The original trusses for the original project is in place. But they redesigned it, re-engineered it,
Okay.
and so now we're gonna have another new set of trusses, which he doesn't want to order until we're ready for them. And we're not quite ready for them yet. And it takes 2 to 3 weeks for him to build the trusses. He hasn't poured the concrete yet because it's too wet. He doesn't want to, he wants at least 3 days of, every other night it's rain. That's why they haven't been poured yet.
154 or
But
whatever.
as soon as it dries for about 3 days, he'll have it poured. And then he'll have the new supports put in and inspected. And then that way we can get rid of the trusses on the outside. And
Okay.
going from there.
All right, thank you.
So
Any more questions on the timeline? The next item that I have that follows the timeline is a demo bid update, and I have 2 bids that this point, and I have another gentleman who told me between now and tomorrow morning, he'll be sending me another bid, for the,
So they aren't included. They aren't included in this packet.
no, they're not.
Okay.
No, at this
I was,
point,
I
we
was
weren't
trying
ready
to look
to.
for the,
We
okay.
weren't ready
All
to
right.
disclose. Yes.
At this point, the prices of what we have seen vary pretty widely. We have told contractors that once we receive all the bids we expect to receive, we'll take them to our city engineer for review. They'll review to make sure that we're not looking at anything that would damage the building next door, to make sure that whatever is proposed is going to be complete and do what it needs to do.
And the bids that we're looking at is just to bring down the outside walls and not the concrete slab, because, it would just be a cost. I mean, at this point, we were trying to make it safe.
So that's not something Roberto can do?
He's a builder, not a
It's-
deconstructor.
Yeah,
Here's the
it's
last
if
stuff I
we
gave you.
proceed through July, that those would come in place.
Okay.
Thought I saw someone in
Any
here.
questions?
No.
Okay.
So,
What's left to pour concrete wise?
right,
Well,
Well, you said he can't pour. What's left to pour? The footings are poured. What's left?
the footings on the north wall, he's waiting for it to dry up so he can pour them.
so the footings are not complete.
The footing, it's all ready to pour.
But it's not
been
complete.
Inspected, it's just Roberto
I'm
telling me that, because it's, he don't want to compromise the strength of the footings to pour in a wet cold. That's why he went to a.
okay. Let's back up to my original question. What did Tim Ingles actually inspect on the 18th of May?
Can inspected the footing for the piers.
So if the footings are poured and they were inspected,
Right.
what is left to pour?
That's where I'm confused.
Yes.
That's the
Agreed.
confusion. Normally, if you're gonna set a post, you pour your footing. It's
And that's
inspected,
it.
you set your post. What?
I'll clarify this.
Thank you.
Tim Ingles inspected the rebar that's in place after it's done and the rebars are connected correctly. There's a lot of rebar in there for support. And then as soon as we get a dry spell, a couple of days, they'll pour it in. Tim Ingles will come back out to inspect the columns and the bolts in place.
Okay. So you've had a rebar inspection is all you've had.
My understanding was you told us that
We call that a footing inspection.
It's a
Yes,
footing
it's-
inspection.
It's the reinforcing.
So Tim Ingles gave the go ahead to pour it.
Correct.
Pour the concrete.
Right.
Okay, so there's
You've had a
been nothing
rebar
poured,
inspection.
no concrete poured.
We've been fighting this weather for 2 to 3 weeks because every other night it rains.
I understand it. My question is simple.
So,
Has there been concrete poured?
No.
Okay,
right. So I think this is where.
Correct.
In here, it says the footing for the interior column.
I apologize.
With the inspected, it says in here that Mr. Ingles inspected the footing for the interior columns.
Right.
But what he actually did was he inspected it to be poured footing, but no footings are poured.
inspected
Okay.
the structural.
Integrity.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, now I'm with it.
That clears, not much.
I apologize for the wording.
No, it's okay.
No,
We just wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page,
Yeah.
so.
okay. All right, sorry. Go ahead, Lisa. I'm sorry.
We run the demo. The next item I have is the review of the dilapidation resolution in July and the timeline.
Okay.
If we were to proceed to them. I apologize, I got 3 pieces of paperwork here. Yes, the hearing is at the July council meeting. At that point, you would set a date in advance of either the building is to be demolished or the building is to be repaired completely, or the city would remedy.
I feel like we've done that 3 times.
So this is a resolution, correct me if I'm wrong, so this is a resolution that's required. Have you guys, oh, you're giving them the one you've already passed, I'm sorry.
Right.
This one they passed, and the hearing is set for July. It has to, the date that they set in July has to at least be out past 30 days, because he'll have a right to appeal the district court if he doesn't agree with this
So,
when they pass it.
so basically you're saying we can't do any, if we decide to do that, we can't vote on anything before July 10th, because he needs 30 days.
Correct.
Since it's June 10th, is what you're saying.
On the demo
Correct.
process.
Oh, yes, yeah, that's all it is. We can't say, hey, set it for July 1st because he doesn't have the time if he, okay. Yeah. There's a separate resolution on tonight's agenda
Yes,
for a declaration of dilapidation, for lack of a better phrase. Correct. It's mostly required for the second process.
Mhm. That's why we pick apart the two processes.
Yeah,
So what did we do?
last month.
Well, no, what did we do a year ago? Because I remember talking about this and looking at here, it says, what's the 20 stuff here? I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
we've gotten to this point before and then we've stopped. That's your question?
What, whoa, we stopped? Okay.
We did not, you guys did not vote to effectuate a demo ASAP.
Correct.
My recollection is for number one, we, at that point, if I recall correctly, we were talking about engineering demo plans. And because we were afraid the city was gonna have to do it.
Mhm.
Also, and then number two, kind of in conjunction with that, was we hadn't solicited any bids.
Yeah.
To necessarily go do it, because that wasn't something we felt like it was gonna be city staff that was gonna do the demo. Correct. Is everybody's recollection similar?
No, I think you're right. That's what I was saying. I was trying to figure out what we've done roughly here. I'm not saying to date. I'm just trying to figure out where we are. So I just feel like we keep kicking the can a little bit. So keep going. I'm sorry, Lisa.
Well, there had to be some time, number one, see, if there was gonna be a demo plan. Now, as I understand it, the update from that, we haven't really received a formal demo plan because the commission of that was gonna be 10 grand.
Right. I remember it was expensive. And I thought JEO was supposed to be coming up with that plan.
And I don't remember that, so
We
I'll
opted
defer.
not to proceed. They gave us a cost estimate of about 10,000. Said that they felt like they could do post-bid review for a much lower price point. And so that was the option we ended up deciding on, was
Okay.
post-bid review.
Tell you what, JEO, boy, they start where they call them in their numbers.
So obviously the challenge with a post-bid review by JEO is, and I will say this, I have not reviewed any bids that we've received, et cetera. But we're kind of flailing in the dark, I feel like, to have bids when we don't have a parameters for what we're seeking to bid. So it's certainly a chicken and egg kind of situation, I would say. That if, and again, just to circle back, I think there was some hesitancy to necessarily approve 10 grand to have JEO do this, then it goes to list bids when we were maybe fingers crossing the SCED thing was gonna.
Right.
Why spend the money?
That's-
Then be sorry.
That's what I'm just trying to figure out. I'm trying to get caught up because not all that's written down in here. Not that I expect you to. That's not what I'm saying. I was trying to get myself caught up because this has been going on literally since I got on the council. So
Before that,
I mean, honestly, and I don't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the building just fell. Like I don't think machinery hit it. I think the building just fell. Correct.
The machinery hit the one wall.
It did?
Yeah.
he hit the top of that
I
one.
mean, we responded to it. I remember that, but
He hit the top of it with the forklift.
I felt bad for that guy's truck because it was demolished. I remember that. Okay, I'm sorry, Lisa. Sorry to
You were
interrupt you.
fine, you were fine. That's almost all I have, unless I'll have an outline that'll guide the hearing if we do so in July. I have an outline that guides it. That's all I have unless you have questions.
No.
They don't expect to hear from SCAT until what, August?
October, I thought.
Do we have?
I actually provided an update on
Got that
this.
You got that.
You should be scared when I walk out here with the packet.
I know. I was kind of worried when I saw the thickness of your packet. What about these
So
four
this is a
pizzas?
throwback for me. I did this in a previous role, and so it was a trip down memory lane to get to review a project like this. So I'm gonna turn, as Mr. Henry knows, these are not insignificant grants. There's a lot to it. And so council tonight, you're gonna get an education on community development block grant, the grant program, Mr. Perry's proposal, and then my role as staff in a project like this is to say, what do I see that's needed to get it across the finish line? Now, at that point, council chooses what your comfort level with what I've presented is. But every recommendation I make is, what do we need to do to have a successful project? So with that being stated, and I don't have slides, there's enough here that slides were not gonna be practical. So I wanted to first just kind of start by sharing about the commercial rehab program. The state receives community development block grant funds from the federal government, and then distributes them to smaller cities like what we are. There are large cities like Wichita that get those direct, but most smaller cities go through the Kansas Department of Commerce and then regional economic development organizations. Now, community development block grant, and I'm going to lapse into some acronyms, is CDBG. And so CDBG focuses on three primary objectives. It's benefiting low and moderate income households, or LMI, prevention or elimination of blight, which this project focuses on, or addressing an urgent need. That could be like a post-traumatic event or something like that. Specifically, the commercial rehab program focuses on job creation or retention for LMI households, or prevention or elimination of blight. And so we're looking here specifically at building structural improvements that would address the blighted situation and promote economic development and revitalization in Tonga. So to be eligible for this grant, these are not easy grants. And so the government must be a partner in it. The governing body must pass a resolution first declaring that the building is blighted under state or local law, and then indicate the specific conditions there. The application must be submitted by either the city or the county. And so we are the city in this instance, and the potential grant applicant on behalf of Mr. Jones. It's also common that CDBG grant applicants would seek assistance from a professional grant administrator. And I just realized I forgot to call our grant administrator. If y'all don't mind, I'm gonna give her a call.
Oh, that's
I'm
fine.
so sorry. That was my glitch, focus on the meeting.
I barely got here, so you're good.
I am so sorry. Okay,
One all the
glad I said that. Okay,
hard life, huh? It's pretty nice.
it's been a lie.
Wi-Fi's great. Only problem with Wi-Fi now is that everybody can text me while I'm up there. Oh, yeah. It's my quiet time.
Hi, Megan. I just jumped into my item and I forgot to call you, so I have you on the phone now. I am in process of doing an overview of the grant, and so if you don't mind, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone. Okay, and Megan is on speakerphone now so that she can hear the presentation and she can speak to any questions. Megan Unruh is with SCED. Previously, we spoke with Stephanie Marsh, who is also with SCED, and they would serve as the professional grant administrator to try to help take some burden off the city in that process. City still carries a burden though. And so the grant administration would be part of the project budget as well. So everything I'm sharing is taken from the program information on the Kansas Department of Commerce website. And so the program requirements require that eligible properties be privately owned commercial buildings that, when fully renovated, house a new or expanded business enterprise. So this is about making sure that we're bringing business into downtown Towanda. Following renovation, the building must be occupied by a for-profit business that serves the community with goods or services. And to qualify, there must be a specific private for-profit business operation or operations that will be relocated in the renovated building. And in application, the building owner must identify the reuse of the building. So program guidelines discourage a mentality of we will rent out at completion, and note that's not a complete or proper building reuse. And so we're supposed to see a business plan for each business that would operate in the renovated building. Um, the program, or this particular grant is proposed in 2 phases. Phase 1 would be under the commercial rehab program. Phase 2 would be additional work that is not necessarily eligible under that program, as would be completed privately by Mr. Perry, but within the compliance confines of the grant structure. So the timeline, I know we talked about timelines a little bit earlier. If we proceed with this grant opportunity, you're looking at the first year really focusing on environmental review. That's a big deal with federal grants. And then design phases, and the second year would focus on the project implementation. And that is part of why, as the city, we had advised kind of hinting this on having the bracings redone and having the shoring on the building, so that sidewalk would be open back there. So tonight's, the purpose of this hearing tonight is about citizen participation. It lets anyone who would like to offer comments on the community needs and the proposed use of funds that are being considered with this grant. So after I finish presenting, there will be an opportunity. We'll open the hearing and anyone who wishes to speak may. That will all be included in the public record. So local funding is required for all CDBG projects. And that funding would come from Mr. Perry privately. Some of you noted there are financial information in the packet that feels invasive. It is part of a project like this. All personal information has been redacted so that we're not exposing anything that is sensitive to Mr. Perry. But with a project like this, financial records do become public record. And so the city is going to require that all matching funds be provided by the property owner, and that we would like to see that match provided at the time a grant is applied for as a cashier's check. The city would then deposit and hold those funds so that as we administer the grant, we would have that funding on hand and be able to pay it out in proportion to the grant conducting. So grants are paid on a reimbursement basis. So that means that the city would actually be fronting the cost of the construction and then drawing funds down from the Kansas Department of Commerce in reimbursement minus the percentage paid for Mr. Perry. So that's a thing for the council to be aware of. As a grantee, the city would be subject to monitoring. I'm familiar with monitoring with HUD, and then we would have to verify we meet the national objectives. If we don't submit timely or accurate reports, it can result in payment holds or administrative action by the state. So this is sensitive, it is mandatory. So post-award, the building must be in use for business operations within 12 months of the certificate of completion. As the grantee, we are responsible for obtaining documentation from Mr. Perry, confirming that the business has commenced, and then we are the ones who submit it to Commerce. And so if he were to fail to begin operations in that time frame, then he would be required to pay the grant funds back to the state on behalf of the federal government. Stephanie did tell me that cities have, just as an additional form of assurance, have created separate contracts, and that would be my recommendation, that we not only take the program's word for it, but we have a separate contract to that end. The city also would then be required to place a forgivable 5-year lien on the property. That is a compliance assurance device that says that if he sells the property in that time frame while the compliance is in place, that it would trigger repayment of a prorated share of the remaining grant. And so as far as the project proposal, I believe I did include the proposal grant or the grant proposal narrative in council packet, and that packet is available online. Mr. Jones and the grant writers note our community's challenges include maintaining aging infrastructure, offering quality of life, housing needs, limited new development. And they also celebrate our commitment to addressing community needs in strategic planning and regional collaboration. The proposed project budget for phase 1 is $195,205. This includes just under $140,000 for construction, $36,211 for architectural services, and $15,625 for administrative activities. And that is within the 12.5% allowed for administration. I know, this is a lot. It's
No,
part
you're
of the
okay.
hearing process.
We're reading over some other things while you're doing it.
So the CDBG funds requested total $140,625. And then, Mr. Jones would be matching with 54,580 of his own resources. And so again, that's why the financials are in there to verify that that is available should the project proceed. He's looking at efforts of the community to revitalize the downtown commercial district. Talks about our efforts to maintain downtown conditions and the importance of private organizations and individual property owners in that effort. The scope of work is extensive on this building. We're looking at prolonged roof failure with partial collapse, deferred maintenance, deteriorated roof framing, damaged parapet walls, leaning masonry walls, voids in masonry joints, poor drainage conditions, foundation settlement cracking, temporary wooden wall bracing extends into the sidewalk area and obstructs safe pedestrian access. Plus, it contributes to the appearance of light in the downtown corridor. And then we also note the improvements, which include structural deterioration, footing and foundation repairs, and I believe my understanding is that those are additional to what's already in process. Am I understanding that correctly?
I think so.
Okay, and we don't have our construction expert here tonight. Installing structural steel columns, beams, and wall reinforcement, reconstructing the roof system with new trusses, etc., repairing and stabilizing the masonry, installing new gutters, downspout splashing and trim improvements, completing exterior facade improvements to improve the appearance, removing unsafe materials, and restoring the building to safe, functional, and code compliant conditions. Again, it's a lot. So phase 2 then includes an interior tenant build out, storefront enhancements, improvements to electrical, HVAC, and plumbing, and accessibility upgrades, concrete slab improvements, garage door improvements, and tenant specific finishes. And Mr. Perry or Mr. Jones anticipates that in the end, that will generate approximately $3,300 a month in lease payments by tenants. He is expecting annual operations to be about $8,400. And so again, the funding for phase 2 would come from him. We would still be under the full project compliance considerations. He's looking at, from a financial capacity and business experience perspective, he's looking at the fact he manages commercial properties and has extensive experience coordinating property improvements, working with licensed contractors, maintaining compliance with applicable local building codes and ordinances. The goal of the project is to create a professionally managed commercial space. And he does have the required matching funds secured, committed, and available. His business plan anticipates a professionally managed multi-tenant commercial property designed to support retail, office, service-oriented, and community-focused businesses. And the business plan is included in the council package. Tenant selection will prioritize businesses that demonstrate operational stability, financial preparedness, and compatibility with the economic development goals of downtown Towanda. The project is ready to proceed. He has grant administration and architectural services in process of selection. And so as staff review it, moving to the next section, really, I see the city's goal in this process is supporting a commercial rehabilitation grant to address a blighted structure in downtown Towanda, to ensure that financing and supports are in place so that the building would not return to its blighted conditions, and then to promote meaningful economic development and commercial activity that benefits the community. That's my personal read and assessment as a staff member, as to why we would proceed with this, and the conditions under which I would encourage council to determine if you're comfortable. So I completed the staff analysis, and I did identify some areas of concern in the application. And when I say that, that's not to say that it's a bad application, but it's to say that these are the things I would recommend that we ensure are complete or modified before we would submit. And so that includes that I feel that the application for the proposed end business use is very broad and generic. Based on the program criteria, I think that we would have a greater comfort level with a more specific end business use. So we would recommend requiring a business plan that specifically identifies the proposed reuse of the building and provides detailed business plans for each of the new or expanded business centers planning to occupy the renovated building, And that language does come from the program guidelines. As of the time of this writing, I hadn't seen proof of funds available for the proposed phase 2 renovations. I'm thinking that maybe I missed those, but I would want to discuss directly with Mr. Jones to make sure that I know what I'm looking at and which set of financials goes with which part of the project. We would advise, typically HUD requires all financials to be within 60 days. And so we would want to see up-to-date financials if we exceed the 60-day mark from the time that the first financials were reported to us. And so we would advise that the council require verification and updated documentation, as well as the cashier's check for the owner's local match be presented to the city before we submit the application. When we look at the business pro forma and the narrative, or I'm sorry, get my thoughts together here. Okay, so I said that the operational business pro forma was included in the narrative, and that's acceptable. I also later found that the pro forma had been sent to me in a different email, and so I believe I do have the updated pro forma. There are some numbers that I would want to meet with Mr. Jones and validate just where he is getting his data and make sure that we've got realistic and working pro forma numbers. There was a note that funding for phased improvements would come from private investment, commercial financing, and tenant funded revenue. The one within that I have some concern on is commercial financing, because the pro forma does not account for loan repayment. And so we would need to look at what that funding mix is for comfort level of phase 2 to make sure that the project would succeed financially in the end. And so we would recommend that council require a phase 2 cost breakdown, anticipating how much is required in commercial financing, and that a revised pro forma be developed that anticipates that private loan repayment. That's in addition to making sure that operational expenses are all justified. And again, that's for the financial viability of the project, because if we go down this path, we want to make sure that we succeed, both Mr. Jones and the city as a whole. So in the event of a project failure, I clarified one of my biggest concerns was to make sure the city wouldn't have to repay the funds. I would recommend creating a separate agreement specifically stating to that end though. And then my final concern is just past difficulties regarding timely action and updates. And I think within that, SCED as the grant administrator would be part of helping to ensure that all compliance restrictions and standards are met. But we would also need to make sure we have a good schedule for timely updates so that the city doesn't end up getting in trouble with the state for failure to file reports on time. And so analysis done. Financial impact. At this point in time, what I foresee is our staff time spent in project management and administration. That's not insignificant. Staff time is a valuable resource. This is something that will be costly to staff time. Beyond that, direct financial costs would include legal publications and then fronting the project costs and seeking reimbursement. So we would want to create a fund that could do that. I don't see other direct costs on the horizon. That doesn't mean that they want to show up. And so my recommendation would be for council to next conduct the hearing. And then following a motion to close the hearing, I'll give council a little bit more of a briefing on the various signature items that would be included if you want to proceed with this. And I've got Megan here still. Megan, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Great job describing
Never.
Thank you. I felt like it was a little blast from the past with an old job. But okay. So I will sit down and allow council to proceed with the hearing.
Question. There's $15,000 in change in the sample budget. Is that strictly for outside administration?
I believe within the budget that was the allowable 12.5% for,
My question is, who gets the money? Does it go
that
to
would be,
the,
so ultimately, I believe one of the resolutions tonight is a resolution for, I should not talk without knowing what I'm looking at. Give me just a moment and I'll make sure that I'm telling you the truth. Okay. Okay, so there's a contract for grant writing services. So that contract, well, the city needs to sign off, would actually be between SCED and Mr. Jones for the grant writing that's already taken place, I believe. And then, so the grant administration, the city actually has a request for proposals active right now, seeking grant writer or grant administrators. Now, our SCED has assisted to this point in time. Often these things do kind of break down by territory, but to be compliant with federal requirements, we needed to offer a competitive RFP for that grant administration service. And you asked about the budget. So let me see if I can find that quickly.
bottom line, my question is, there's 15,000 some odd dollars in the budget that's in the packet. Does the city receive any of that money, or does it all go to outside sources?
It all goes to outside sources.
So the city receives no compensation for any of the activities that are for.
That's correct.
Okay,
Unless we wanted to serve as our own grant administrator. And while I am comfortable navigating this program, I'm not comfortable doing that.
And I don't think you have time either.
We got
Yeah,
enough on
yeah.
our
Let's
plate.
not put on any more on your plate.
I guess I got a couple questions. Oh, go ahead.
No, so I just need to confirm. So basically, whatever staff hours would be committed to this project is at our own cost.
Yes.
Correct.
We're not reimbursed for that at all.
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
I got a couple questions. Kind of just going off, with everything. Mr. Jones, how long have you owned this property?
I can't remember exactly when I bought it.
Give me a ballpark.
2005, 2008.
I think it was. Well, I remember, it's been years.
Was it in the same time you bought the other properties on Main Street?
No,
Okay, it was after that.
So,
way after that.
Okay, all right.
are we talking 10, 15 years, 20 years?
About 6, 7 years, something like that.
Okay, so why
6 years.
now is my question. Why you're coming to us, asking us to help you to do all this stuff because you want to get a grant, but the building's been sitting there dilapidated. It had a bunch of stuff in it for years. And now there's been damage to it and I need to fix it. I need help fixing it. Why did it take the building getting to that point? And now you have this whole business model on what you want to do with it. Why wasn't this something you could do before the building got damaged?
It's not beneficial to me. It's in my best interest to revitalize it and bring it back to.
But you're telling us that's exactly what you wanted. You're going to do when you get this money. You're going to revitalize it, put money into it, and get it under so it can make money for the town. But why was that not a problem, or why was that not an issue before all this happened? Is my question.
Well, there was back then I had a different plan. And I had planned for storage at that time when I first bought it, but I had a different plan. I mean, people change their mind and decide this is not the direction to go.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
You
get
know what I
that.
mean?
Yep.
Okay. You've got it roughly 5 years, 5 to 10 years. We don't know exactly. And all you've ever used it for was storage. Is that correct?
What is this?
I stored a few cars.
That's every year we do.
Really, that's all you've ever used it for was storage.
Yeah,
Title of the hearing I am going to open.
Carl and Butler County Auction sold the vehicles out of it. And now it's empty. I'm trying trying to consolidate down south.
I guess my question is, you said somewhere you were expecting $3,500 a month, which I hope you get that.
Well,
But, I know, I rent a lot of buildings and I know that's not gonna happen. But anyways, you have some kind of plan or some kind of thought, maybe I'm not legally supposed to ask this, I don't know.
yeah.
You have somebody that you're saying, okay, I'm gonna rebuild this and you're gonna move in? Because the rest of these buildings over here are still sitting empty and, I know for at least 2 years, the storage on Main Street is not allowed.
That's not what I want. I want to draw business income and, not for my personal use.
Yeah.
Cause it doesn't gain me in.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, sir, I don't see how it gained you anything to rebuild it. I mean, to be
Well,
honest with you.
I look at it, I'm not looking at it a different way. I'm looking at it, if you have a torn down building with nothing there, and you got the same wall with Scambinos, and it's just nothing there. I mean,
No, I'm with you on
so
that.
I'm putting my own investment, and I'm willing to rebuild to try to create something in this town.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah, I mean,
Because otherwise,
that's great.
yeah, I'll just knock it in the head and walk and leave.
Right. No, I think it's great that you wanna do that. That's great.
Yeah, and I'm going to invest a lot of my own money.
Yeah,
I feel one thing that hasn't really been brought up or anything until he's brought it up. You know, we're talking about, you know, if we don't pass it, this, that, if it does pass, what have you. But how does this affect Gambino's? Like, they're a prominent business in this town. He hasn't done anything wrong, but he's still getting the effects of it. So how does this affect him as well on how we vote, what goes on? I mean, that's,
well, I think. If I remember right, that was part of that plan that didn't go all the way through was they had to have a plan to secure that wall before they tore down the other 3 walls.
which we don't have right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, we don't have it right now. Is that right?
Well, right now, the architect is involved in this. All the engineering's done. It's just a matter of start building.
Okay.
And those trusses, if it wasn't for the weather, those trusses would be gone. The support would be in. But my contractor, Rivero, does not want to compromise the footing, the strength of the footing with the wet hole.
How
That's
deep,
the only reason why I haven't done it.
how deep are your footings? How deep?
Standard. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but it's to code.
No, I just asking.
It's
Just curious.
deep.
Just curious.
Yeah, it's. He wants to make sure that footing is doing what it's supposed to. If you put it in a wet hole, then it can be compromised in strength.
I don't build buildings. Some other people do.
Stop looking at me.
So,
Some other people do that. I don't do that. I do pools.
I do that in the profession.
Right.
aside from the time for, you know, the city employees, how much money could the town potentially be out if we, is that it?
Only the time,
It's only the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is all that I know of it
Unless
is.
we decide to-
which is substantial.
Mm.
what are we talking about substantial wise?
600 hours. 600 hours?
Lisa, how much time would you say you've spent so far?
So far.
I mean,
It's
it's 40.
time before,
I don't think it takes long to hit that 600-hour mark. 500.
Yeah, I would say, truth is, there will be seasons of heavy lift, but we would definitely be looking at hundreds probably. Between the administration, compliance, communication, different checks, things like that.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, CDBG is a wonderful program. Commercial rehab is a wonderful program, but it's also a very heavy program, and so that's part of what council is weighing.
And what was the time that we would find out?
October.
It
So
was
once we submit the application, Commerce would evaluate it within 45 days, and so we should know within 45 days or so. So that's part of why we're running these two processes simultaneously, is if we have an application that council is comfortable with, that we believe could be successful, we can delay the demo process. But if we don't get to the point where we feel like it will be successful, the demo process will continue.
Okay, what do we need to do?
Okay,
Mr.
we're gonna open a public hearing for the purpose of considering an application to be submitted to the Kansas Department of Commerce for Small Cities Community Block Development Block Grant Funds under the commercial rehab category for the property located at 309 East Main, Towanda, Kansas. Comments?
I think we've been having comments.
There's a public comment in there.
Yes.
Public comments, fine.
This guy. Oh. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw him.
I didn't know who he was. I saw him.
He's been here the whole.
No, I saw
from
you.
Start to finish.
I have other meetings on Wednesdays, every other Wednesday, so I can't. My concern would be if it's a 2-year project. The building isn't empty. There's a bunch of trash and garbage in it that attracts other problems that has to be dealt with as well too. Right now there's a dead feline on the other side of it that's sitting there rotten. It's just constantly something, and my concern would be the ability to see this through the rest of the way. It would be a big help if we could get the struts off the front of the building so that it doesn't look like a dilapidated, forgotten about construction site, but I feel like there's been plenty of adequate time to make that happen at this point. So my faith is lacking, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I know what that's worth.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any discussion among council members?
My concern is that a lot of what Sarah brought up is that, yes, he's committed to some of the funds, but given how much our staff is going to be dedicated to this, that takes away from major issues within our own city government that distract these employees from handling that.
Well,
And then we don't even know, like, there's been just this timeline of kicking the can down the road. We've all seen it. And if we get so far down the road and then we flail out, what have we got? A big fat
we got a
nothing.
dead can.
Right, and then we're on the hook for whatever we have to pay back to these CDBG funds, if
Yeah.
that's an option. Or if that is, yeah, so I don't,
I mean, I just feel that the contractor that's been working on the building for the last almost 2 years, we haven't really gotten anything out of, so where's the faith in
Mistake, I don't know.
knowing that it's gonna be done, within the timeline that they're setting?
I will say on the other side of that, just because I want it to be fair a little bit,
Mhm.
JEO has slowed that process down quite a bit too. I do know that. So,
I think,
yeah, I think so.
JEO was part of it, waiting on the city hired, waiting on all the results from the new engineering and all that. That was a bit of time right there. And then the first contractor I hired drug along, and I had to fire them because they wasn't doing the job right. And knocked the wall over, so you're gone. And Roberto, I have a lot of confidence in him, he knows what he's doing. He's, he's been supporting me a lot, and I think he's gonna come through for
When did you hire Roberto?
me.
25, 24.
At least,
Pardon me?
25, when he We're gonna hire Roberto.
You hired Roberto in the very beginning, and then you let Roberto go and you brought in the other contractor who damaged the building, and then you brought Roberto back. So
I was looking at the cost of
I don't have a timeline for that, but Roberto was just in it long enough to pay for the building permit and just to the very initial, that was probably, that's as much as I can remember they got done, and then another contractor was brought in.
So, okay, just, I'm sorry, roundabout. January 25, so we brought in Roberto, is that close?
Roberto was brought in.
Not the first time,
after this
second time.
individual-
Right, second time is right.
Second time after this individual damaged the building.
Yes,
Excuse.
So
So was that-
February
24 or 25?
25,
It's 24.
February 25. It's damage.
That was just,
It was after the building got hit,
That was it. That was
Right.
a good question.
so it would have had to been after January 31st.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
Less than 60.
got me beat. Can't remember that far back. Thank you.
Well, if it affected your business, you would too. And
Yeah,
I remember too.
Were you in
I
there?
got the call and they said the whole front of the building got knocked over and I thought it was my building. So
Yeah, I bet it was.
The early part of 25.
Okay,
I
so,
don't know exactly.
2025.
We're still 16.
So we
17
are July, almost June
June.
June of 26. And the footings can't be poured because it's
well.
because of the hole in the wall.
In the timeline of hiring Roberto was, they totally redesigned how it was gonna be built. The first engineering is extra, so they had to restart all over.
Okay.
With, redesign.
Okay.
And designed it, a lot better than the first design was.
Okay.
That took a little time, and we rushed those, new supports, and so we'll actually get them built, because they're backed up for a month.
Which supports, I'm sorry.
The columns are going into the north wall.
Okay.
Roberto said he paid another $1,000 since the speed process to get them.
For 3 days.
They're just waiting to be installed.
Yeah, for 3 days. Oh, I saw that.
Was there were specific like guidelines or criteria that have to be met before the application could even be put in, right? Or was that you apply, if you guys agree to do this, you apply, and then the whole first year of the like 2-year process was come up with your plan, do all these criteria, like, I just wanna make sure I'm clear on how much time for.
So typically, part of what really slows these projects down is a process called environmental review. And I didn't work specifically within ER, but it's looking at all potential hazards, all things that could affect the project. It's really about equity and making sure that projects benefit the targeted populations. So ER is pretty significant. And then I think design phase would really finalize the engineering, the architecture for the proposed project. So it's not necessarily like a come to the table with nothing. Obviously, there has been significant work and planning involved to get to this point, but the structural then has to proceed under the HUD standards.
So if you meet all the guidelines and the application's out, that's when they start the environmental review process?
Once the grant would be awarded.
Okay.
Mhm. So once Commerce makes a determination.
Is there a time frame between like when everybody agrees, okay, he's going to go ahead and apply? How long does he have to like get all his ducks in a row to meet all those criteria or guidelines for it to even happen?
My recommendation to council tonight, and I'll review a few more because there are quite a few paper items and signatures required. My recommendation would be to delay officially approving it to go forward until we can work through just a little bit more, ideally with the July meeting. So then 45 days from submission, we'd be looking probably end of August that we might know whether the grant would be awarded.
If I may speed dial this, I just kind of looked at it real quick. February of 25, when it was damaged, a new engineer wasn't brought on until the late June. Drawings were given to us then. And we went from June of 2025 clear up to March, February, early March this year to redesign and decide we would do the interior piers to get rid of the braces. So no work had been done that the new engineer had drawn at that point. We just moved them to the new braces.
Correct, because they kept saying that they were waiting on trusses, waiting on this, waiting on that, and it was a new excuse every month.
Technically, no work, no finished work has been completed as of today.
You're right. All right.
So
Lisa's timeline reflects that on March 27th of 2025, the first set of certified plans
yeah, I
were
saw
sent
that.
to sent to the JEO, I believe. So
Since they put up those
it's been going
outside,
on since then.
Pardon me?
since they put up those outside 2x4s that would hold the wall,
Uh-huh.
no work has been done technically.
Technically.
Well, no, that's not
Well,
true. It hasn't
well,
been finished.
That,
Work has not been finished. It's been done. It hasn't been finished.
that's true. There's just a little, there's a
Okay.
little bit of framing inside and such, but as far as rebuilding and fixing the roof and fixing the front and all
Yeah,
of that.
no, I get it.
Table.
No.
Okay, so what do we,
Still want to proceed with the motions.
Mr.
Don't
Mayor?
want to proceed.
Table the final application. We would want to, so we advise all of council. So council, my guidance would be that we wouldn't be ready to approve the application yet. We would still, if council wants to proceed with this, and that's part of your determination tonight. If you want to proceed with it, there are a series of motions that I would still recommend tonight to keep the process moving, but then I would recommend holding the final application to just say it's not quite ready yet and allow staff to continue to work with it.
Silly question. What happens if we don't approve it?
I believe it would die here.
Then what's
And then
what's
we
the
would
next
have the
step?
demolition meeting in
Yes.
July.
Yes, and at that point, the demo process would proceed.
But we still don't know what it does to Gambino's wall if we do that.
The demo process, we as a city, if we authorize that demolition, we would have an obligation to make sure that plans are reviewed and constructed, that anyone doing the demolition is bonded and insured so that we would be protecting the Gambino's building through that process.
That's where you're
hard
going back.
spot.
That's where you're going back to getting
Yeah.
bids that are post-review bids by JEO. You hope that something is gonna come back that's gonna protect them. Because otherwise you're paying 10 grand to tell them, for them to tell the bidders what they need to do.
Okay.
Any other
What was your
discussion?
recommendation?
Any other discussion on the council?
If we decide to, let him do this and they're saying it's gonna take X amount of time, is there any way we can say, okay, but we want to make sure once he gets the funds and the construction starts, that they focus on that east wall first, the Gambino's wall, to make sure everything's good? Or is it kind of like, hey, we have to do it this way, and he could be sitting there for the next 2 years while they're still working on it and nothing's being done to help support that Gambino's wall?
No,
Let me
because
clarify that to Megan, if you don't mind, and
No.
see if she can guide us on that.
they-
And so
they
Megan,
have a
the
timeline that they have to follow.
The council question is, if we proceed with the grant process, do we have any authorization to force the work to first focus on the shared wall with the Gambino structure?
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, I think that would most likely defer to what plans have been designed and engineered through the architectural study. on the project. But we most likely would need to look into that more. Right now, with the way that the scope of work is built, I don't see that being clearly defined regarding timeline. There could be potential to list that as being an emergency need there, that we could certainly look into.
Can we make a timeline? Can we say,
Unfortunately, federal projects or projects using federal funds tend to have their own timelines. I have attempted to use CDBG dollars for emergency situations and it's not really compatible.
understand that, yeah. So let's say if we get, this hypothetical, I guess, let's say he does get this grant. We don't know if he's gonna get it, but let's say he does. Can we make a timeline at that point?
No.
Golly,
No, because we're using federal dollars.
well, he already has them. Why can't we say it has to be done at a certain time? If you already have them.
Oh, there's a project completion time.
There is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's just not a, when I hear you use the word timeline, I think of, hey, it's the first 3 weeks is gonna be done doing this, and the next 2
Okay.
weeks is gonna be done doing this, and the
Alright.
next 4 weeks is gonna be done doing this.
I see that. So,
That's different to me than
but there is a
a finished
completion,
timeline, which is, hey, you need to be all done by,
but there is a completion timeline that they would have to put in.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And typically that'd be about 2 years.
Holy crap.
Yeah, they were saying it's gonna,
Yeah,
even if
this
he
is-
gets it, we're still 2 years out from it being completed. Which means for the next,
Until the end of 27.
which means for the next 2 years, he's Gambino's is possibly open to something happening.
Sir.
And then, like you'd said before, for those next 2 years, we're gonna be using employee time to make sure stuff's going, it's being worked on properly, everything's going, so we're still out that money on employee time and it's just,
So,
it's a rough.
You are certainly making an analysis of some sort. I'm not sure that I would use the word out, so to speak, but you're certainly making an analysis of, hey, there's gonna be a hypothetical number of wages that we're gonna be allocating towards this project
Mhm.
with the hopes that eventually, and I can't, maybe in my world, but I can't imagine it would take 2 years to do whatever it is that they're doing. But that in 2 years that everything goes great, then we've got a functional commercial building that's gonna be used to revitalize your downtown, and whether or not your staff's on that you invested in that is worth it. I would say that that's a fair analysis that you're gonna have to make.
Yeah, maybe out was the wrong word. I just see out because the city's not the one that damaged the building. The city's not the one that did that. The city's been trying to work on this with the owner for 18 months and nothing's happening. So now it's like, hey, I need your guys' help now. And it's like,
I
well,
would agree that the city didn't damage it, but I think you have to separate the two a little bit.
okay, I'm just, yeah, no, I understand.
I do have a question. During this time period that the building is open and everything in the countryside can crawl into it and die, don't we have city ordinances where that building should be checked once in a while?
Check for what?
Decaying carcasses,
I'm sorry?
decaying animals.
He just told us that there's a dead cat in there and nobody has said or done anything about it.
And on the outside, not in.
Regardless, the city should have some kind of ordinance, to go around and check things.
Again, I think you have to separate, I mean, I think the city historically, and probably will continue to remove dead animals as we come across them. Obviously, I'm not riding shotgun at that vehicle, but
Yeah.
I've seen that.
I mean, our people are busy, I understand that. But we have a situation where maybe we should be checking more.
Council, Megan pointed me to, there was a timeline within the proposal narrative. So I'll hit the highlights on that. We're looking at a grant application submission in July, award potentially late August. So we go through technical assistance, grant agreement development in early fall. Late fall would be the environmental review. A bid tour would take place potentially in January of 27 with a construction contract award in March of 27. Construction begins April of 27. 50% complete by about July, and then full completion by end of 27.
We already covered 3/4 of that. I mean, honestly, we already know who's building it. We already know all that stuff, right? I mean, they're not.
Actually, we don't.
Oh, boy.
So there, because it's federal procurement, there are additional processes that have to be gone through to ensure appropriate use of federal funds.
Okay. So it may not. He may not. Roberto
It
may not.
would not be able to be Roberto
available
because
for-
of his, he is already too deeply invested, and so it would be considered a conflict of interest.
Do I start over again?
We would be working with a different contractor.
Oh boy. You guys are not making this easier on us.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Can I ask for a clarification?
Sure.
No,
Did I just hear you say that Roberto, who has been at least, not the only contractor involved, but at least the primary contractor involved heretofore, that because of his somewhat leading role involvement, that he's precluded from being a potential bidder for the project eventually?
That has been my understanding from Roberto. Yes, the
Oh,
project would
Lord
have to
have
be bid
mercy.
out. So
Did you know that?
Yes, Roberto explained it to me with the program is like anything, you have to have 3 bids. And they're gonna take the competitive bid over the project.
Which I get that there's 3 bids. I just assumed he would be able to be one of the 3. What I'm hearing is that he's not gonna be able to be one of the 3.
Do I understand that he might not be? That's what Stephanie
Mine's from
told,
chickens.
Stephanie told me that he might not get the job, he might not. That's all in question.
So hold on, there's a difference. Excuse me. I'm just trying to clarify that I'll make sure I'm understanding. There's a difference between might get the job and might not
Well,
versus not gonna get the job because won't be allowed to bid because super involved to this
Correct.
point. Which one of those is it?
that's Stephanie explained in a 3-way conversation with Bertram. And she said, there's gonna be 3 bids and he might get the job, he might not.
but what she just, that's not what she just said.
I'm checking with Megan.
Who's Stephanie, by the way?
That's information.
Person.
Okay.
So Stephanie Marsh is the Deputy Director of the South Central Kansas Economic Development
Have we
District,
talked to her
also
before
known
and
as
she?
SCED.
Yes.
She joined us by phone a couple
That's right,
meetings
that's
ago.
right, that's right,
She
that's
was unavailable this evening, and so Megan is her coworker at SCED. That's why we have Megan on the
that- that-
phone.
I feel that's a pretty big,
Oops.
like a big, oh, by the way type deal.
Yeah, she says to the best of her knowledge, prior contractors are ineligible for bidding. And I believe that would be a competitive advantage, kind of already knowing the ins and outs of the.
Well,
Wow, boys and girls. Ding, ding, ding.
it's kind of.
So Roberto is only in it for the current peer support
Right.
trusses
Mhm.
phase.
If he
Which-
gets a grant.
No.
No.
They complete work.
I'm saying if
he
the
gets-
grant.
sure,
yeah,
sure.
If he independently funds him, it can. he
But
can-
then if he gets a grant, then we take that chance of having to start from step 1 or 2.
Oh,
And what happens if he doesn't get the grant? Where is all of this going?
Demo.
Okay,
So demo is that through line that if all else fails, we go back to
okay,
demo.
where we're running them consecutively,
mhm.
okay.
So the grant was the hope that if there was an opportunity to preserve the building, revitalize downtown, the grant could do it. But demo is always that if
Yeah,
everything
backup
else falls
plan.
out, we fall back to demo.
which even with demo, it's not as easy as.
Any other
Yeah.
discussion?
No, none of them seem easy. It doesn't matter what we choose. If we just
None of them sound.
decide to,
None of them.
yeah. And with Roberto who knows everything about this, not even being able to work on it, that just throws a whole wrench in that deal.
And so we
Because
would,
what if Roberto did something that wasn't right and this new guy comes in and says,
That's
yeah,
exactly
we would not do it that way, and then they have
That's
to
exactly
redo
what
all
I
new
was
plans
thinking.
all over again.
Yeah, the plans are not from Roberto. The plans are from JEO and the engineering.
And I'll apologize. I was just surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's fatal to anything. that surprises me.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't trying to,
That may be
it was not my intent to raise alarm.
I
No, I don't think you raised any more alarm than we've already had. I mean, coming
Yeah.
into this, we knew that this was gonna be a hard one, so.
And so
Right.
Megan shared that the city ultimately would open bids and then we would award that bid to the lowest responsible bidder.
Well, I don't love that either.
And that is federal procurement.
We're trying to revitalize and we're gonna go with the,
But you're using funds that aren't yours.
that's true. That is true.
Well, it is, I pay my taxes.
No, that's.
It's a workshop for a different day.
Yeah. All right, so what's the next step?
We need
Voting
to-
on,
I need a motion to close the grant proposal.
I'll make a motion to close the grant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Kit. All in favor?
I,
Okay.
I missed who made the motion. I'm sorry. Okay, Chris, thank you.
Chris.
Okay, so
Your next
council.
recommendations, Ms. Miller.
Yes, the next steps, the thing you've been waiting on. So the recommended action tonight would be to table the final submission of the grant to the July, our July 8th meeting. With the expectation that we would continue to work with staff, between the various entities to refine the application and prepare it for final submission. So if council has interest in continuing this forward, what you would need to do tonight is adopt the following motions, and hang on again.
You have them written down, cause I'll never remember
I
this.
do. And we'll display,
Thanks.
we'll display each one up on the screen as we go. So as you look through the documents, I'm just gonna go grab the signature packet. The first one is a contract for grant writing services, and again, the city is a signatory. The contract payment is actually between Mr. Jones and SCED. And so we would authorize the contract for grant writing services, allowing SCED to provide the services they've already provided on behalf of the city and the owner. The second,
Hold on.
I'm
What
sorry,
we're doing right now is just tabling this and then we have to go through this.
yes.
So we need to start with the table, right?
Let me outline all the various
Okay.
motions and then I'll back us up and then we'll walk through them.
Cause I'll
I
never
just
remember
figured
all
it's
that.
easiest if we kind of present them in bulk.
Yeah.
Okay.
write it down.
Second would be to authorize or to approve the applicant's recipient disclosure update report and then authorize the mayor to sign. Yeah, and he's gonna get a sore hand tonight with all the signatures if you go forward. Okay, the third
Auto
one
pen.
is adopting a resolution, certifying the legal authority to apply for the Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program from the Kansas Department of Commerce, and then authorizing the mayor to sign and submit such an application. And so that's the legal authority that opens the pathway that then we could submit when ready.
Okay.
The next one is adopting a resolution declaring the building blighted with respect to the particular grant program. So while we already have a blight resolution for our demo process, this is a blight resolution specific to this grant process. Okay, the next one would be to authorize the mayor to sign the residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan. And anything with HUD is a mouthful, so.
Gotcha.
The next one would be to approve the determination of level of review. That really ties to the environmental requirements for the construction project and authorize the mayor to sign. The next one is approve the statement of assurances and certifications. This is basically saying that we will be compliant with all the various federal programs. That ranges from the level of contractor pay required to the Build America, Buy America use of American-made construction supplies. That is why we have a professional grant writer assisting us. Because I am not able to do all of that compliance monitoring,
I don't want you.
but we have to say that we will abide by.
Okay.
And
Hallelujah.
then we'll get to discussion. So I'm going to back us up. And so I think the first step would be for council as a board to determine if you want to go forward with the grant process.
So
And then if so, then these would be the recommended actions.
let me ask you guys this, I guess. If we table this, and that's
To the
the
July 8th meeting.
until the July 8th meeting, but if we don't see anything done, and I'm not saying work, if we hear from her or whoever, like now we've tried to contact 3 times, we haven't got anything. At that point, we can shut this down, right?
Great.
You guys all comfortable with that?
Agreed.
let me make sure of that with Megan too, that
Because
Megan, we
they said-
could,
she did say it could be up to 45 days, so if he applies, 45 days is end of July.
We're hearing if you could
We're not
reiterate for me,
giving
Sarah.
them the authorization of why we're tabling that. part.
yes.
That's what I'm
So Megan, the question is, if we pass the various signature items this evening, but we don't see progress on the physical construction by July, are we still obligated to go forward, or could we decline to submit at that point if we don't feel good about what we've got?
Pretty good, clear.
What you have currently operating on the business that you've required, is that what you're meaning?
Yes, I believe both that and a sense of a complete resolution, or I'm sorry, a complete application that the city is comfortable with.
Yes, we would not submit anything until we have the city fully on board with the
So-
project.
So if we have seen nothing, or if they're not responding, or any of that, I mean, let me just say,
You can sign all this stuff and approve all
Right.
this stuff today,
and then
and you can still decline to submit the application in July.
that's what I was saying, right?
Yeah.
And I believe after tonight's hearing, we would be obligated to submit the application between 15 and 120 days from
Right.
now.
So if we get to that point, I truly want you to be able
Can I
to.
stop you?
Yep.
Obligation to submit the application.
Actually, I
Can they
said
change it?
obligated.
Yes.
Am I correct in saying obligated, or would the correct term be authorized?
The period you have for submission would expire after that 120-day
Okay.
period. So if you did not elect to submit within that term, you would need to hold an additional public hearing and reauthorize the submission
Yeah.
for a different time period of submission. That's what that
Or choose to not submit.
case is.
Perfect. And that's our attorney catching my language and making sure that I'm speaking correctly.
Or
Which is
or
good.
choose not to submit.
Sarah, what I heard there was if the city did not submit the application within the 125-day period, we'd have to have another public hearing to
Yes.
authorize an extension of the time to submit the application. However, I think what they're asking is can they also determine to choose to not submit
Right.
ever?
And so Megan, if we chose not to submit, would we just allow that time frame to expire and then it would be dead at the expiration?
That is correct. Your public hearing does not necessarily determine that you must submit the grant application. It just starts your public awareness time period. After that 120 days expires, the Department of Commerce feels and the regulations are held so that the public is adequately informed of the project and what is going on. So if you wait past that 100-day period, they want you to re-inform the public all over again so that they're fully aware of what's going on with the project. So you would not be held to being required to submit within that time period. It would just have to start over if I caught everybody's
Yep.
questions correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mine.
we're getting
Yeah.
nods all around. Thank you very much for that clarity.
Okay,
You're welcome.
Does that make sense to you? We come in and nothing's been done, or you aren't responding, or you aren't communicating, we're not gonna do it.
Or Roberto.
Let's do this thing.
Okay,
what we're gonna need is a motion to table
Okay,
the final submission of the grant to the
So,
July 8th.
I'll make a motion to table final submission of the grant until July 8th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Can we do these in a bundle, the rest of them?
I think with resolutions, we probably have to do, I thought about it, but then I realized with resolutions, I
that's why I
think
was
we have to
asking.
do them one by one. And I do have resolution numbers included in the
Alright, perfect.
PowerPoints.
You do?
Oh, the grant writing service won't need a resolution. It's just a contract, so.
Mhm.
So I need a motion for this one?
Yes,
Yeah.
Motion to authorize the contract for grant writing services, allowing SCED to provide grant writing services on behalf of the city and owner to be paid by owner Perry Jones.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I approve the applicant / recipient disclosure update report and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
You grabbed a short one there.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Adopt resolution, make a motion,
Yep, move to adopt.
adopt the what'd you say?
Move to adopt.
Move to adopt the resolution number 2026-07 certifying legal authority to apply for the 2026 Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program from the Kansas Department of Commerce and authorizing the mayor to sign and submit such an application.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye. Move to adopt the resolution number 2026-08, declaring a building blighted with respect to the Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep, I believe that. It's on your home. I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan.
Second.
All in favor?
I got Angel on it.
Making a motion to approve the determination of level of review and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion to approve the statement of assurances and certifications and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll get the next one.
Aye.
I make a motion that we have a discussion.
No second. They're doing a little.
She died.
Yeah.
Okay, council, we've got one more item related to this, and that's our first new business item.
Oh, yeah, we're just not here.
Okay, so tonight we are also presenting a procurement policy. And this is, let me get back to the PowerPoint. So, procurement policy is really a policy that guides our purchasing. Council has requested better purchasing guidance used by staff. And in tonight's case, federal grants require having a purchasing policy or procurement policy on the books. So what I'm presenting tonight is not perfect. I want to share that. It is one that actually our friends at SCED, and I'm going to say thank you, Megan, and you are welcome to exit the line if you'd like to tonight. But our friends at SCED provided us with a sample procurement policy that is HUD compliant. I've done preliminary work to try to make sure it reflects City of Towanda positions and things like that. We'll continue to work on it. But this is a starting point and it does meet the requirements for this grant. And so, and then council did opt to proceed with the grant. And so I don't recommend that it be tabled. And we do have to do this in terms of seeking a grant administrator. And so if you had opted not to, I would have recommended tabling for additional localizing. But as it is, I'm comfortable with what I'm presenting and will continue to work with it.
Yep.
There is no financial cost for adopting the policy, but it does guide best practices in purchasing. And so we anticipate this assisting our financial position long term.
Yep.
And so with that in mind, I would recommend approving the procurement policy as presented.
Make a motion to approve the procurement policy as presented.
Second. Drew, all in favor?
Like, what's your still back here?
Say what?
You're sitting in the Madam Woman chairperson.
Kind of worried about it.
You're taking it.
Not worried about it. I don't know where she went.
And y'all get a few items break from me presenting, and we're back to Lisa.
I should know about this one.
The design firm for the Tetra Fire Station reached out to me with some easy questions in the early process of their design. Do believe you have those? First question they asked is if the two parcels could be joined as one, and that would require an alley vacation. So that may be coming to you. I have it's something that the planning board has forms for, and it's a process. I would bring that to you. That's what they so choose to do. The second question he had was, is rezoning required? Not necessarily because the fire station.
Lisa, would you be willing to kind of back up and just share a little bit about the project proposal and the property that it's being proposed on? just to make sure that council's up to speed on what's going on.
Yeah, we're still trying to find out where we're at here.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, keep going back, keep going. There, nope.
Oh, we're getting close here.
Nope.
There
There,
you go.
nope.
Yeah, okay. All right, here we go.
Right there.
Found it.
Okay, we got them in the right place in the book, but yeah, if you could share,
I feel like I should know about this one and I don't.
if you could share for council and public a little more about the project.
Okay, you're close.
Close.
Yeah, that's where you're at, the planning and zoning of the fire station, right? Rezoning
I
of the
will
fire
get there.
station.
You keep moving.
Okay.
It's way.
Okay, it would be the Andy Newbury lots up here next to the post office. This is where it's proposed to go. We had rezoned it back to multifamily, which does allow our fire station. But the problem with that is it's got setbacks and it limits them to how much of the property they could build on and how high they could build. So,
How high?
pardon me,
What's the height we can go?
45.
the height,
Has allowance of 45 feet.
Oh, it's right there. I should read it, is what you're telling me? All right, got it. Sorry.
all right,
Oh, you got
okay.
the
Lisa.
wrong one.
It's 45 feet.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, I think it was limited to like 30, maybe in R2 multifamily. So, the planning board discussed it in either way, whether they left it as it is or rezoned it. A special use would be required, but it would be to their advantage to rezone it back to B2 business district because the structure height would then be raised. There wouldn't be any side yards or front yards required. They could build clear out to the edge of the property. No maximum lot coverage. So it was basically, special use would come back to you, rezoning would come back to you. It would be initiated at the planning board and the alley vacation. So this is kind of just a heads up that they're still in the design phase. It was just questions they're trying to figure out their options in their design.
When you say an alley vacation, basically they shut that alley off and no one can.
The easement would remain. They vacated the alley for the post office and just left the easement.
Okay.
So that's what they would be asking to do on this
Oh,
lot.
it's already closed.
Vacate it as an alleyway.
That's why, that was my question, because I was like, the alley stops.
Yeah.
Right there at
It stops
Fourth,
right there
so,
anyway.
We're gonna charge the fire department.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay, question?
go ahead.
Wanna be a
She'll
landowner?
get to that. As far as the building permits,
Okay, yes,
you'll get there in a minute.
we'll get there in a moment. So basically, the discussion that I just went to the planning board with was this is what they're looking at and what is your recommendation? And this is what we're gonna be seeing down the road and that, now you have that information. Someone brought up that, I think TC did, he was at our meeting and said it's gonna need at least an 8-inch water line. No planning board wasn't sure what's there and neither am I at this point. But that'll be something that we'll have to consider. And then the building permits. The design firm asked me if the city would be willing to make any accommodation for the building permit fees. They're trying to keep the costs, trying to work with the costs. And planning board said, well, the county does inspections for us. Maybe the county would do the inspection fees. Maybe, we could find ways to make it. I don't know. It would have to come to the council as to whether or not you would waive or
My
reduce.
question is, what do we do with the school district?
We made the school pay full fee.
Well, school ain't putting out everybody's fire in town.
Or saving lives.
Or going to Melly's Medical Call.
They are educating the future of
Yeah,
Milwaukee.
I hear you.
Get out
Have a chicken fried steak night.
Feathers.
These were just questions that are asked of my board.
Yeah.
They had.
Are we voting on anything tonight or is this
No,
just
no.
discussion?
This is just prelim.
So they are
Update.
putting a fire department across the street by house.
Yep.
No.
Depending on where you
it's
live,
over a
maybe.
block. The catty corner, it's probably a block and a half. Don't worry about it.
I only hit the horn.
Sir,
I only hit the horn 3 times.
directly across the street.
It's right next to his house.
No, it's on the west
Yeah.
side of that block.
So the
Oh, on the front main?
Right.
On the west half, not right
Okay.
across
That is how
from
the
the
post
house.
office.
That makes it better.
So the goal
Oh,
of
you did it 3
tonight's
times.
presentation is that if council has questions you want us to research or things that you want staff to
Well,
bring back.
I
This is
feel like you already
conversation.
I do have a question. What, I know there's from prior conversations and involvement, I know there are some requirements and of things that can and cannot be happen before. They're going for a CBDG grant also, aren't they? The community,
Oh.
huh? Okay.
Okay.
My understanding is that if they were to take possession of a piece of property before the grant was issued,
Correct.
then they could not use the purchase, gift, whatever, of that piece of property as a partial offset for their 25%
That's
participation.
correct.
Is that
Mhm.
That's
still the
correct.
way it is? Okay.
That is
That's why they
correct.
haven't taken
One
possession
difference
yet.
between the project we just considered, because of the damage to the building and the threat to life and property, they have been allowed to go ahead and make those preliminary improvements. Typically with CDBG, it's considered a choice limiting action to do any sort of purchase or construction. And so the fire department's in a position of needing to basically get pre-agreements for what would happen once the grant was active. They cannot go ahead and take possession of the property without,
Right.
as the mayor said, losing that as part of the local match.
Correct. Yeah. So as far as upgrade to an 8-inch, we don't know if it needs upgrade or not, because
Well,
it may already be there. I feel like it's already an 8-inch.
DC talked to the.
I have those drawings somewhere. I have my color book out somewhere, I promise that.
Well, I'm
I'm
just
almost
saying though, he was
positive.
consulted on it. I thought he was gonna make sure they did it.
I'm almost positive it's an 8-inch over there.
Huh?
I'm almost positive it's
Yeah,
at least an
I
8.
think that was already, that was planned in just in case.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do I answer them if they're asking me, would we make any consideration for the permits?
Yes.
Yep.
No fees.
I think, Lisa, we're
Nope.
not at a place yet where we're gonna ask council to commit as a board.
It says
Obviously,
6 inch.
individual members say yes, but as a board, that would be a council
It
vote
says
later
6
on.
inch.
So,
Oh,
Let's see, let me double check his email and see what he asked. Okay,
No, it says.
just want to be sure I have the answers.
Water main.
Okay.
That's the.
I was positive it was. I've,
Yeah.
That's one thing I have
just
actually
outlined.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no,
Okay.
there's an 8 that runs right there, so. That makes it easier.
So as far as for us, I mean, until you guys make a decision on what you want to bring to us, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Okay.
That it?
As far as the answers, I think,
Holy bastard.
I think it'll be easy to get that passed. with no fees.
His question was, would it be possible? Do you think the council would consider? That was his question.
Yeah, we'll definitely consider it. How about that?
One of those.
As a body, they're not
Right.
ruling anything out.
Correct.
Would the city
I
make
think as a
any
body, they
accommodations
need-
for the building permit fees?
Once they know what they need, they need to
Yes,
bring
we'll
it in and
consider it.
Consider it. Okay. I'll respond to him.
CDBG for the fire stations, that probably, Chris, means that any person on the department before won't be able to be on the department after.
You're too vested. You're too vested.
Thank goodness.
I've been waiting 5 minutes to make it.
He read it through 4 times, like, I got this.
straight dead.
Thank you.
And it's possible that you would consider an alley vacation.
Yes,
Yeah, possible they would consider it.
we will consider. it.
Governing body
consider
will
anything,
possibly
honestly.
consider anything and everything to do whatever they can to properly partner with the fire district to get a fire station.
though.
We will consider all of those options based on the
Yes,
ownership
it is.
and use of the property.
Based on what?
I would recommend we consider all those options based on the ownership and use of the property at the time.
Lisa, I think the bottom line is this. I think it's very difficult to call for a vote and call for hypotheticals, et cetera.
Yeah, that's why.
I think as a group, they're willing to, when the time comes, they're willing to certainly consider and make and vote their
Based on
choice
how
in the
the-
interest of the city.
The ownership of the property use.
I think it was testing the water to see what we would be willing to.
I agree with Chris. I'm sure that when we were going through that one meeting with JEO and TC pointed out pretty clearly that we needed an 8-inch line.
It's already there. I can see it.
He's got it marked.
I got it marked there yonder.
Fast.
Orange line, not red.
4th and Main.
Angel, I would encourage you, just from me to you, if you have concerns, questions, that's a great opportunity outside of council meetings to try to get caught up because
Yes,
the fire station discussion is about a 7-year thing.
okay. Okay.
And I might be shorting it.
Well, and I knew, honestly, even here, even in 2015, I think when I moved back home and bought that house, that there was talk about using that lot as a new fire department.
We're actually pretty quiet, I promise.
Pardon?
We are pretty quiet.
Yes.
Actually, the one
No.
across the street from you is gonna be the motorcycle repair shop.
Well, my husband would be okay with that. We both would like, hey, we would help sponsor that, but I appreciate you saying that. And so, yes, I will be very interested in how all that.
When we leave, like even now, we're very quiet. Truly.
Yeah, because I don't hear y'all.
Nah.
So, and is it gonna, are they
Wound up
planning
to
on
like front of
something
mine.
this size
Always turn
Say
on.
what?
over here? What size are they planning on?
So
Like,
right now, it's
We're-
very preliminary,
Yeah, okay.
and
That's
I
step, like,
apologize.
10, we're at step 2.
Okay.
We're not even close.
I typically would try to update council on things like this. I did not realize that the conversation had gotten to this maturity until
Sure,
it went to
fine.
P and Z. So typically, if I'm aware of things like that, I will try to keep council updated.
All right.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Fireworks permit.
There we go. I
I
make a
will-
motion that we authorize the
Oh, yeah, they're watching every day.
Next item on the agenda is the fireworks permit.
I make a motion that we authorize the mayor and city administrator to sign the permit certificate.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Okay. Zoning exception requests.
Yes, City Hall received requests, quite often, and I have a citizen who is requesting to discharge a couple of
A couple.
aerial fireworks, July the 11th at Towanda City Park for a gender reveal event.
Yeah.
This is outside the day. Of course, we can shoot fireworks, but I have to bring it to you for your permission.
Which part?
City Park out by the pool.
You just need a motion, so you want. I'll make a motion to authorize a citizen to request a discharge fireworks July 11th at the Towanda City Park.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, at least I asked instead of just doing it.
Right.
The second request I have is Gambino's.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
Whoops. I pulled the wrong one out. I'm sorry.
I got that one.
You have Gambino's?
Yeah.
I
assume that's what this one is. There you go. You want it?
apologize.
No, you're fine. Is that the one you need?
Yes,
Yeah. go for it.
temporary signage. She's asking to place a feather flag in the front of the building near where this pole is. Are you okay? Tongue twister. The city code does not allow, of course, because this is city property here, of posting
It's something you
signs.
want to take in and out, I assume.
It's just temporary. It does, we do allow real estate signs, we allow auction signs, open house
Yeah.
signs.
Yeah.
So she's just has to bring it to you.
I make a motion to allow a feather flag in front of Gambino's Pizza Building on city property near the utility pole / sidewalk area to advertise only during the business hours. During the hours the buffet is available.
I second that.
All in favor?
It is a tongue twister. I'm glad you guys did it, not me. That's why I didn't. I would have messed that one all
What?
up.
Like that nicer places than this.
Yeah. Hey, what? Yeah. I do have a question.
Yes.
You might drop H2O a note because they've got one out at the street level.
Okay.
I mean, don't,
Okay.
but just say, hey, why don't you send us a note and ask us to approve it at the next business meeting? Because they've had one out. Just so we don't get,
Yes. I believe that's all I have.
The food vendor ordinance. Is that one?
thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay, council, the food vendor ordinance was first brought to you all last month and it was tabled to this evening. One of the things I want to really emphasize is that when business opportunities change, it changes the needs of what we have on the books to govern that business operations. And so it's important for the city to be responsive to changing opportunities and provide a clear legal pathway for businesses to operate here. One example I like to share is a few years ago, the concept of Airbnbs really grew. And so cities were suddenly faced with what does it look like when somebody is renting their house as a hotel? And they had to come up with local regulations to protect the neighbors, to protect the homeowners, to ensure that things were licensed, to protect guests. And so that's really the model for what we're doing, what we're presenting tonight. We have an obligation as the city to ensure that all federal, state, and local requirements are met to address health, safety, and welfare of our residents. And so we don't currently have a permit requirement for licensing mobile food vendors. We do recommend establishing that process by ordinance, and that makes sure that we have a clear path to govern those types of businesses. The proposed ordinance creates the permitting process, and it also provides that pathway for business licensing. Right now, we're recommending $100 for the annual license. And so, for example, if a food truck came into Towanda for festivals, that food truck could come in an unlimited number of times in a year for that $100 license. And so, again, the fee listed is $100 per year. That really covers staff review time to work through the proposed permitting process to make sure everything is just as it should be. I will say that this has a few changes. I have reviewed it one more time, and our attorney has reviewed it since council saw it last time. Those changes in your agenda package show up in gray, but we're really looking at to protect the health and safety and welfare of the community. Operating is defined as preparing or providing food to others, whether for sale or in exchange for charitable purposes. And then because we know we have a number of local entities that conduct fundraisers regularly, there would be the opportunity for a one-time exception for fundraising to be completed through the city administrator. And so the goal is to find a way to regulate business, but not to stymie community serving fundraising.
Is that one time per year or?
Yes.
Okay,
No, unlimited number of times per year. So, for example, the fire department hosts a number of fundraisers through the year. And so they would have to apply for that exception each time. The goal would be to make it as minimally burdensome as possible for known community serving nonprofits.
So so we have, there's 3 food trucks that come in once a year.
Mhm.
We know they're gonna come at Christmas time and came the last 3 or 4 years.
Mhm.
They have to pay $100 for that night when they're doing a kind of a charitable,
Mhm.
honestly, they are, so.
Right. You know, that's what we had proposed. Ideally, I would say the hope would be to say, could we have some other events they could come in for?
True.
We can't make that happen.
We're working on that. I mean, there's other people working on that to try to get more
Yeah.
events. I know that on the
Yeah.
car show coming.
So the idea was to cover the staff time for that review, but to try to incentivize, once they're approved, they can come frequently if desired.
Can we start at $50 and then raise it later?
Certainly.
And the question is, would we be interested in potentially looking at a $50 fee instead of 100?
And then raise it later if we start getting more?
I have no issue.
Yeah.
I mean, cause this isn't like set in stone. I mean, we can change it
Mhm.
later.
But we don't
You
exactly have,
can always change it.
Right.
we don't exactly have a plethora of food trucks just coming in and out of town.
Not
all the
yet.
time.
But
So,
we don't know what's gonna come in 5 years. I mean.
correct.
Say they have a car show in September.
Yeah.
They have food trucks in for that.
If your
Yeah,
question is, can you make
food trucks in
$50 now and raise it 5 years
Yeah,
from now, the
yes.
answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We have in the past had a food truck night where they had 5 or 6 of them.
Right.
I mean,
That's what I'm gonna
if
ask.
we want to attract them and they don't know how, that that $50 may be all they
So,
make. Who
is
knows?
Is it basically saying that gentleman who does all the barbecue
I
stuff,
was just gonna call.
he would still have to
Yes.
do
Yes.
Okay.
And part of that is our process requires anyone selling food in town, and in his particular case, he is,
donating.
and so part of it is he's saying because he is donating the food, he's receiving donations, that he doesn't need the inspections by the health department. And we feel like anytime there is food being exchanged for value,
Yeah.
the health department should have that opportunity. That is part of the city's obligation to state and.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. Yeah.
Alright, so we need a motion.
So adopt an ordinance.
Make it, yeah, just make, but if you were to make it, maybe you'll be correction.
Yeah,
$100 for the-
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance. Do we need an ordinance number?
It's 7:34.
Okay.
735.
Adopt ordinance number 734, establishing licensing and operating requirements for all mobile food vendors, including food trucks, outdoor smokers, grills, or barbecue units operating within the city limits of Tawanda, Kansas at $50 per unit.
Second.
All in favor?
Alright,
Thank you all.
my phone's getting ready to run tired.
Council, I think I'm fair to say Rylan is not here tonight to present this because he and his wife just welcomed their first child last week.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Samson
Baby, I can
Rose
hold him
was
today.
born on his dad's
Future mayor
birthday.
right there.
Oh,
What did
Yeah,
you
I went saw that baby today.
Oh,
say? Future mayor.
Yes. So in Ryland's absence, I'm presenting some bids for street maintenance.
No.
So,
here's a baby and you get to miss a meeting?
yeah.
I don't like so.
Oh, don't even think about it.
So, we've talked many times about street maintenance being a key priority for us. At the moment, we're hesitant to really dig into streets that we know could be affected by the water system project. But at the same time, we want to make a meaningful difference and show the community that the city is going to invest resources that it has for streets. So staff recommended putting together proposal processes for 2 stretches of streets in town. Both are highly traveled thoroughfares. Both are starting to deteriorate, and the goal is to prevent further deterioration. So those stretches are South 6th Street from Main Street to Pool Road. We have a lot of pothole complaints in that stretch. And then Clay Hill Road, yeah. Clay Hill Road from 6th Street to Southwest Hunter Road. We, I believe, sent proposals to about 5 different firms. We received 2 viable proposals, one from South Central Steel and Paving and one from Edson Construction. I will say JEO had offered to review the proposals at no charge. They sent one of their engineers out on site, met with staff on site, and he reviewed the road conditions and the proposals. And his guidance was that a successful finish is going to really depend on what we do with the base. So as he looked at the proposals, he recommended, well, first I should back up. From the 2 proposals, South Central Sealing and Paving was much more specific. And so they proposed approximately 998 square yards of asphalt. Edson Construction simply proposed patching. The South Central proposal was also more cost advantageous, coming in at just over 110,000. So JEO's engineer recommended building in a pretty healthy contingency for additional base work. That would allow, that way, once we get past the obvious, we could go ahead and do work on the marginal base and then have the seal coat, the seal or the slurry seal coat everything and hopefully hold better long term. So at this point in time, the street reserve fund has a balance of $246,930.99. We don't want to just sit on those funds. Those are funds meant to do work on the streets. And so we did approve the Safe Streets for All master plan. Out of that, we have a $35,000 match that is our 20% share of that match. We also need to be able to cash flow the whole project. So my recommendation is that we hold about 50,000 in that fund at least to be able to prepay, seek reimbursement monthly on that grant, and then cover our portion. And that leaves us with just under 200,000 in the fund. My recommendation would be to establish a not to exceed amount of 150,000. That's about a 50% contingency for base work. And that leaves 50,000 for Safe Streets for All and about 50,000 more in the fund. All costs would be tracked by square yards completed and negotiated before construction begins. So we would not enter construction and then go, oh, how much? And so my recommended motion would be to award the maintenance projects on South Sixth Street and Clay Hill Road to South Central Sealing and Paving with a not to exceed project total of $150,000.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna screw this up.
And there we go.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to award the maintenance project on South Sixth Street and Clay Hill Road to South Central Sealing and Paving with a not to exceed project total of $150,000 with South Central Sealing and Paving.
And I can second the motion.
And all in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a wage authorization, and if it feels like deja vu, yes, we did do this last month. Afterwards, we realized we had a couple of technical details that were incorrect. For one, we called it the staff wage authorization, but we included Rob, and as much as we like Rob on staff, he's not technically staff. He is a contract attorney. The other thing
Oh,
is,
you owe me benefits for like 15 years.
Hey,
We don't pay benefits to anybody.
I don't see my salary.
sorry, Mayor, I missed it. I guess that
You
means
signed
council doesn't get paid. The other thing is, and we've talked a little bit, this is kind of a fine line with an administrator form of government. But when we list every single staff member, there is a legality and a precedent to doing that. It's also kind of exposure that can diminish morale. And so we have talked about moving towards something where we would just list officers. And so in this case, some of us as staff function as officers. I'm your city clerk, Tammy is deputy city clerk, Lisa is code enforcement and zoning officer. But the revised resolution only focuses on officers appointed under code who are not otherwise under a different contract. And so we do have contracts in place for things like nuisance code compliance, some other services like our sheriff, but anybody who's not covered by a contract like that would be listed here. And so I bring this back to council's consideration. And I'm sorry, I'm looking through things. If there are no objections, I would recommend approving the resolution.
I recommend that we approve the resolution 2026-09 setting 2026 City of Towanda Officer Compensation.
Second.
Seconded by Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Did I not do that?
Okay,
It's a bad one.
council, I know that we are running late. I'd hope to have a little more time on this, but I'll try to make it as short and sweet as possible. One of the things I expected that we would start talking about this point in my tenure is priorities. And we're at a place where that conversation really needs to happen. Anytime somebody new comes in, you start getting an understanding of what all is going on in an organization. You find the things that need worked on, the things that we didn't know need worked on. And so looking at establishing a priority plan really helps to guide staff understanding clearly what council as a board has set as priorities. Otherwise, I can listen to each person's priorities, try to be responsive, and run myself ragged without clear direction. And so we're really, I would say, as a staff, trying to change from a daily operations perspective, where problem comes in, we deploy, we address it, to more of a comprehensive, going somewhere project management strategy. To achieve some of the large community goals like the water system updates, our streets, police department, and then emerging goals like financial sustainability, organizational stability, and customer satisfaction really require a level up. And so that involves choosing to clearly prioritize and then potentially to put some other priorities later on down the road. So what I am looking for from council over the course of several conversations beginning tonight is agreed upon priorities from the council as a board, and then realistic timelines for complex projects so that we can monitor together where we are. So today's conversation starts with a high-level overview. We'll have conversations the next several months. And then what I would like to do, I've seen done elsewhere, is every quarter have a priority list that council holds me accountable for. And I bring those updates to council quarterly with the opportunity to celebrate what's been achieved, look at where we are with other priorities, and look at which priorities should move up into the list. I will say I've worked for a much larger community that managed a list of about 10 to 12 priorities per quarter. And that was with a staff that was many, many, many times the size of ours. So the goal is to really make it intentional and achievable so that we're not letting you down in terms of just running too many directions. Okay, and so I wanted to just give a snapshot. This is my brain on the PowerPoint. These are the things I'm focused on right now. So in the basic administration, kind of all hazards. Looking at human resources, finance policies, customer service, and staff management, with a lot of sub-priorities under each one. Information technology, I'm looking at considerations around organizational security, efficiency, places where our file systems let us down. Website, we've got some federal compliance issues coming up with our current website. And then what does our internet-based customer service look like? How can customers find what they're looking for in the city? If they need to report a situation, do we have forms in place that they can do different functions? I think I may have skipped one. Nope, I didn't. Okay, communications. We have the Herald, we have social media, we have the website, and then other things as needed. With community engagement, we've held some listening sessions in town halls. We've discussed doing a community survey, and we've talked about doing some strategic planning. So compliance, we're looking at code compliance. Obviously, we have enforcement gaps, as we discussed earlier. Updates to city policies to make sure that we've got risk protection through good policies in place. Accessibility, a lot is coming down with online accessibility, and it's going to be very, very heavy administratively. We've got contracts that we are not happy with the way they're currently running. We are looking at sheriff contract as it is now versus the police department, looking at continuing to increase things within our nuisance code compliance. We've discussed the need for specifics around pool operations. Behind the scenes, our uniforms have been a struggle. That seems like a small deal, but it takes my time. We've got a lot of handshake agreements in place where we pay money with no documentation to support it. And then we've got several places where we support community organizations, but those expectations are not super clear, and that leads to some hurt feelings and hardships as we rub up against stuff. Economic development, we are doing some preliminary assessment of the housing development potential. We've been asked to consider incentives, so evaluating the incentives, looking longer term at commercial development goals and how to market the community. And then just community development, broadly speaking, bringing a lot of strategies together to take us forward. Plus, we've got several major efforts and initiatives underway. And so that includes the police department, our 309 Main situation, and the grant application. We need to educate the community about the sales tax proposal. I'm working on budget development, and I will be developing 2 budget options for you. We've got dogs at large, cats, and the potential of quite a bit of grant writing for the future. And you got a little taste of grant management tonight. And that's my job. Those are my priorities right now. That's not just daily operations. Yeah. So,
Sarah.
what I'd like to begin to do is to funnel this down into a framework, because I think many of us feel that way in our jobs. You know, that's work and life. At the same time, some days I come in and I'm just like, I don't know what to do first. So what I'd like to do, and in your packet, there's a framework that I put together. I have a background doing strategic planning, and to start to look at what fits kind of within what timeline, and look longer term at where are we going as a community. And so what I've tentatively proposed, and these priorities should begin to drop into this timeline in the coming months, is that this year we really focus on stabilizing. I think anytime you get a new administrator in a place, it destabilizes. There's change. It can't be avoided. We also are finding together how much is missing, how many things are really just, we're one step away from a major risk. And so I'd like to look at risks, stabilizing staff expectations. That means the handbook, living into the relationships, Continuing things that are already in process, like the Safe Streets for All grant. Andy did the application for funding on that. We received the grant. Let's take it forward. Council has prioritized taking care of what we have in the budget process, and I am taking that to heart. I'm also working to develop a budget for you that serves not just as a legal bottom line, but that serves as a policy document where the council is giving staff direction on your policies and your preferences. And then also it's a spending plan for staff to work within. And then finally, looking at what are the master planning processes we have in place that we need to look at down the road to build that roadmap. So that's still a hefty load for this year, but that begins to take that cloud of all the different projects and bring it in to say, where do we need to focus this year? Ideally, I'd like to look at the next 3 years as building the foundation. When I see a construction site underway, you see them just moving dirt for a long, long time. It's like, well, what's going on out there? Well, they're getting the dirt so that the foundation is stable. They're putting the infrastructure under the dirt. It's a long time before the building goes up. And I think that's really where we are the next 3 years. That doesn't mean priorities don't proceed, because many of those are foundation priorities. But I'd like to basically begin to build that foundation so we are operating well in the coming 3 years. And I'll spare the details on this. The next 3 years, we start to really move the needle. Those are the fun years. That's where we've got a foundation, we've managed the risks. We're starting to be able to tell the community this is what we've done, name the successes, celebrate it, take it from Sarah's trying to build a budget process in the margins to community. What would you like to see in the budget? That's a fun season. Again, moving more toward best practices. How do we cultivate loyalty and longevity with staff? How do we continue to take care of what we have at the next level? And then most strategic plans taper off sometime between years 3 and years 7. So as we're looking years, 8 through 10, it's really about maintain momentum. It gets very vague at that point, and that's okay, because at that point, the community should be generating new guidance and new direction for us as the city. So we do know at that point, we'll start to see the water system financing in the temporary 10-year sales tax fall off. So there will be ongoing work and projects, but I do believe that we can go forward in really meaningful ways. So no action is needed tonight, but from a financial impact, getting out of the crisis mode is powerful. We make better budget decisions at that point. We can do better projecting. We use staff time better in those ways. And so again, no action recommended, but I wanted to let council know just kind of what's going on in my mind, in my world. And then as you all have time and thoughts, I look forward to hearing from council, from community as well, just about kind of where you see things that are priorities fitting in that timeline.
Thank you.
I like it.
What I see is. Need a
In
motion.
line with that,
Stab you in the neck.
Ms. Goody,
Yes.
you and I have discussed possibilities
That's not even
of
a
town hall
promise.
meetings workshop.
Yes.
We need to get a date that would be good for a budget workshop,
Absolutely.
latter part of this month. I
We'll-
know you're gone. Rich.
Yes, we'll have to see, but yes, over the next, I would say 4 to 6 weeks,
Yeah.
we do need, we need to
Probably,
do it.
how about
July 3rd.
sometime right after July.
That would be good.
Everybody be kind of looking at your calendars if you wouldn't mind and see what you have. We won't try to do it at the July 8th meeting because there's possibility it could be a little hectic with some of these other things. But we do need to have a budget workshop, so we're not under the gun. Huh?
Maybe the week after.
Yeah,
July
week after that. But take a look at your calendar.
I was wondering about that.
Then we'll set it and grant it because Sarah and I have talked, we'd kind of like to have a town hall, let people come in and talk about the budget, and see what we're going to be with or without the sales tax resolution. Okay?
One other consideration for that meeting, I was talking with our treasurer, and I think he already left this
Yes,
evening.
that's a lot.
Our July close is going to be a little bit challenging. The QuickBooks version that we have been using is city software. is in need of an update, and we're hoping we can get that platform updated in the next couple of weeks. So that will be Stetson's first close on the new QuickBooks that we're using. Additionally, packet usually goes out the Friday. Well, Friday will be the legal holiday, July 3rd. So we would be looking at trying to get council what we can on packet by July 2nd. So with council's permission, we will either try to get the financial close in the packet like a day or two before the meeting, July 8th, or we could delay the financial close for until the special meeting, the budget. Well, actually there are approvals, so we will try for July 8th.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I wanted to advise council in advance that close could run late between the transition and the just the holiday schedule.
Okay.
Any further business? Okay, you have the motion. Oh,
Most important one.
I need,
Close.
we have a library board member whose term has expired, Bailey Johnson. Been to a couple of meetings. Bailey's an integral part of the board, enthusiastic, great to work with. I'd recommend that you authorize his reappointing him to the library board.
I vote for us, motion to reappoint Bailey Johnson to the library board.
Second.
All in favor?
You may ask him if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yes, the library.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we even got an email saying, yeah, no, ask him at the last meeting.
Yeah, I'll just make sure. I voted Linda on it. She went, I don't want that.
Yeah. Hey, Pookie.
Oh, thanks.
All right, well,
Oh, I forgot those. Ready?
executive.
Yeah.
Let's stretch it 20 minutes for the session. Let's go an extra 5 minutes. Just so everybody can get ready.
Okay. So you wanna wait till everybody goes by?
We could take a 5-minute recess and then resume an executive session
All right.
at 8:35 or 9:35.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion to enter executive session for 20 minutes. Starting at 9:35, so everybody can have a little bathroom break.
Second.
Who you including?
Oh, we go.
Personnel. So to discuss personnel matters.
Attendance will include the mayor, city council.
Did you really see that? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I said, attendance will include the mayor, city council, city attorney, and city administrator. The open meeting will resume.
You can't.
I was packed.
I saw that.
Council room at
40.
9:40.
35.
In favor?
45.
Second.
Good.